Calling to order the Code Enforcement and Nuisance Board hearing for September 27th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Here.
Deere.
Yes.
LaPointe. Yes. Harmon.
Yes.
The first order of business is a nomination and a second for nomination to vote for a co-chairperson to lead the rest of the hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to nominate Jeff Holman to be co-chair.
Second.
By Deere, seconded by LaPointe. Roll call, please.
Holman.
Yes.
Deere.
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes. I've got that.
This is the one for Ryan.
Oh, yeah, I've got it. Okay, case number one is case 2022-3900. Oh, I'm sorry. We need a motion to approve the minutes from the August 23rd meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second. Deere, LaPointe. Yes. Ask for roll call.
Harmon.
Yes.
LaPointe. Deere.
Yes.
Holman.
Yes. Okay, now we'd like to swear in the staff. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Okay, we ready for case number one? Yes. Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to mention, case number 7 on the agenda and in your packets is being removed from today's hearing. We are moving that to next month, so that will pop back up, but today we will not have case number 7.
Thank you. Case number one is case 2022-3900, citation 2022-7195.6. Either respondents present? Yes. Well, if you approach, we'll swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. At the August 2022 Code Enforcement and Nuisance Board hearing, the board tabled a decision on the appeal of the citation for 30 days, granting Mr. Jarvis additional time to have 65 to 70% of the code violations resolved. Mr. Jarvis has cleared some violations on the outside of the property. However, the structural fire damage of the house remains. Mr. Jarvis called me on September 22nd to advise that he plans to demolish the house. I reminded Mr. Jarvis that he will need to obtain a demolition permit for this, and he stated his contractor is aware of this. Staff requests the citation and fine be upheld as the property was in violation at the time the citation was issued. The citation and fine were issued appropriately, and the property remains in violation today. Once the citation and fine are upheld, staff can resume the code compliance process and will continue to work with Mr. Jarvis to allow him flexibility in bringing property into compliance. We request this case be handled by staff instead of coming before the board every 30 days. This case has been open for 110 days and remains in violation. And of course, I took these photos today at the property, and you can see the structure remains the same as it was the last time that we met. Nothing as far as structurally has changed. Mr. Jarvis has cleaned up a lot of the violations out on the property. There are some small things that still remain, but as you see, the structural damage is still there, the roof and the front and sides of the house where the fire took place. But these were photos that I actually took today of what the property looks like as of today.
Well, during the last time I was here, I talked to several contractors, and they informed me that it would cost me more to repair it. I talked to several of them, quite a few, and they say it would cost more to repair it than to build back. So I contacted a demolition crew and got a contract that they tear it down and try to get permit to build back. And that's why I hadn't did nothing to the house, because they told me, don't do nothing until I come down there and we look at it, and then we'll let you know where it can be repaired. Several contractors came, which, of course, they time schedules. I couldn't make them hurry up and do it, but they finally, several of them came and said, hey, Mr. Jarvis, be honest with you, man, by the time we do this, it'll cost you twice as much as it will to build a new house. So I contacted the demolition, so they're gonna tear it down to the thing and go from there. We got the contract right here, so.
One or two real quick. What's the time frame for the demolition?
ASP, as soon as possible, but I can't, like, again, I don't wanna make him mad, so I'm gonna work with him, Greg Gary, of course, y'all know him. And I say within a few weeks, it should be down. And then I go through the other process of getting the permits and getting the contract. I done talked to the contractors. The only thing I got to do now is talk to your billing code and all that and find out when I can start the process of billing, because I need to try to do it ASAP, hopefully before it get real bad weather.
Have to have a permit to, do you have a permit yet? Have you applied?
Greg handled all that. He done, the demolition guy handled all that. He done did it, he probably faxed it over yesterday.
Is it Greg Gary?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, we deal with,
He deal with the city all the time. He
Mr. Gary
done
all the time, so,
towed
I
two or
mean,
three down for me with the
normally we
city.
don't have a problem with him getting any permits, and he faxes them in, so that's.
It's
pretty
all written
commonplace.
down right here,
Yeah.
that he responsible for the permits, hauling away, cleaning up, the whole 9 yards, all of it in writing.
But again, the contract doesn't have a specified date that this has got to be done, just,
Now, he just said that, submitted to me, in full on the 24th, he said it gotta be, payments gotta be made within 20 days, 20 for the next month, that's demolition. I got 60 days. If I don't have nothing to do, he can cancel in 60 days, which, with me and him done talk personally, so it ain't no about no counseling, It's just a matter of we getting together and before he can start. But we done agreed upon the price and him doing it. So, so it will be taken care of. But like I said, I mean, it's nice, the time frame based on him. So I would say, because I seen him work for a lot, he pretty quick. But I can't give you I can't stand in lie and say, well, it'll be done at the end of the month. I can't say that because, I can't control him. And I don't want to piss him off, and he might say, man, I just canceled it. So, but I know it's in the process. He done did what he's supposed to do, supposedly, faxed the permits over Monday morning, sent me a copy of the proposal. I accepted it, and the only thing we can do now is wait till he do his job. But I want y'all to know, it ain't that I'm trying to stall it, because I'm not trying to stall, believe me, because it's done aged me 10 years in the last 6 months, and plus the wife, believe me, when the wife ain't happy, ain't nobody happy,
When was the decision made to demolition this property?
Actually, I talked to about a week after I talked to you all. He told me he'd get back. He didn't get back, so I contacted some more. Few days to come, they came, and then finally, the last one that came was, I'm thinking it was Thursday of last week, a week ago, and him and his partner walked through with me, and they said, man, he said, I ain't gonna lie to you. He said, believe me, it's best to tear it down. He said, because the floors is what, because, you know, that, and I'm like, you know, whatever it is, I just, like I told them, the contractors, I just need to know how to go forward, you know, and I said, just don't lie to me, just tell me what we gotta do. And he said, okay, man, have demolition guy come in here. First, I was gonna take it down to the foundation. They looked at it, assessed it, and they said, Mr. Jarvis, he said, I know it might be cheaper, but it'd be better in the long run if you take it all the way down, so it'd be new all the way up. So I said, that makes sense, you know. It costs more, but sometimes it costs more now, it might be cheaper in the long run.
What are your plans for this property?
I want to build back. Got a contract already in place. Only thing I'm doing now, getting the demolition, getting the permits, and go forward. And I want, like I say, as quick as possible. I want it. The contractor he ready. The contract just waiting until it get demolished. As a matter of fact, he supposed to be involved in that, so show him how to do it. Cause Greg said he gonna do how he can do the footing and all that while he at it. And all them trees you see and all that, I'm wanting to push all them down the whole 9 yards. It's gonna be looking good when I finish.
What about everything else that you have on the property that is in violation? Looks like there may be a TV sitting there. What's the holdup on getting all that cleaned up?
The vehicle, all that stuff runs. I mean, I've been using that to move the stuff, but the rest of the stuff I'm moving. I got a building, I'm putting all that stuff in, with the buckets and stuff like that, all that gonna be gone. Except some of the stuff he said, don't worry about it, he gonna take that off with it. When the demolition, he can take in all that stuff that's, you know, that I can, he said, you don't need to go into all, I hauled a lot of the stuff away, but the motorcycle run and all that, of course, I'm doing a tune-up on it, which that got to be moved too, because all that got to be tore down. All that gonna be tore down, and he said he'll clean all that off the patio. So he said, ain't no need of doing it, because I'm gonna haul it all away.
Oh, I guess the issue I have with it is that you don't have a date of when he's gonna do it, and you still stay in.
I can get with him tomorrow. Like I said, I can't make him do it. I'm gonna have to ask him what his schedule is like. And then I can get back with y'all. Hopefully not have to come back to the time. I done lost a month worth of work. So I can maybe get a hold of her or whatever y'all want me to do when he give me a date. You know, 'cause hopefully I don't have to miss a whole lot of more work, because I done missed almost 2 months. And it's killing me, believe me. I don't know, y'all might can't afford it, but I can't afford to miss no 2 months of work. But believe me, it all will be taken care of, you know. And like I said, got to move the motorcycle, which all this got to be moved, because he gonna tear it down. The patio, he tying everything down. Patio, everything. Trees.
You made a comment I didn't quite follow about going forward, the case will be handled differently.
So we can resume the code compliance process once, if you all decide to uphold the citation and the fine, where we don't have to keep on coming back to you all every 30 days. Once if you all uphold it with his process of demolition and get the building and everything, we can kind of follow that along, make sure the appropriate permits are obtained and everything. We were just saying, if you all decide to uphold, then we will kind of follow the progress and make sure that he gets all the permits and not keep bringing it back to the code board.
What happens if we're 60 days out or 90 days out and there's not been a demolition permit and the building is still there? What will you do at that point?
Of course, the property would remain in violation if the permit's not obtained.
So how much, Mr. Harmon asked that question, how much time would he have if we upheld everything tonight, if we uphold the citation and the fine tonight?
As far as, he would of course have to obtain the permit, and then usually, Brad might have to help me a little bit on this.
And I know that you guys work with them. I know that you work with them to try to help them. We're not here to hurt them, we're trying to help them.
No,
you know.
but what is at issue is the fact that Mr. Jarvis has appealed a citation that took place several months ago. So at this point, if we just continue tabling the matter, there's not a lot of teeth in order to encourage compliance versus whether the fine is upheld or not. As long as the citation is upheld, then the board is saying, yes, what we did was correct. Heather issued the citation correctly when it was issued, and then that allows us to go back to our process. And to answer your question, Mr. Harmon, is that if it is not in compliance in a reasonable amount of time, or there is no permit, or it is not on the ground, and it's through Mr. Jarvis's control, not, due to outside circumstances, then we issue another citation. And then Mr. Jarvis can appeal that, and then it'll come back in front of the board. But at least that way the ball is back in our court instead of having, as Mr. Jarvis is saying, to come to City Hall every month. It allows us to just work with him directly. But if he fails to comply, we issue another citation, and then he can appeal it and bring it back in front of the board again.
So is everything in compliance except for the structure?
There is still some junk and some rubbish. You were mentioning the TVs. I mean, that is considered, there were 2 TVs out there, Mr. Jarvis, that it's considered junk.
The water hoses and stuff like that.
Appliances, there's buckets out there. There's,
You can't, hold on, you can't, which I've been using those buckets, of course, while I've been cleaning up, to move stuff around. But I can understand, if you're not allowed to have a bucket on your porch, believe me, I won't do it no more, okay? But the rest of the stuff, the hoses and all that's gonna be moved into where it's supposed to be in storage, okay? I got a building for it, okay? And like I say, the rest of the stuff will be, when the demolition is, all of that gonna be gone. You won't see nothing but a lot where a building gonna be put.
he did make some
And if y'all-
headway in removing vehicles and tires and such. I mean, he has done that. But, I mean, there's still, like I said, there's some junk out there. There's some rubbish, the buckets. But the buckets have been out there for a little while, Mr. Jarvis, not just,
Them ain't right there, 'cause I turned that whole truckload of buckets away the other day. Them was just there yesterday. I worked all day long yesterday. So them when you see that was not been there before, believe me.
but there are still some violations there, yes, but he has made some headway in getting some stuff cleaned up for sure. The junk, some of the junk, the cars. He even moved the Cadillac from the other side of the house
legal.
that I noticed today.
And it
So,
was- you saw
but
it.
yes, there are still some violations there, but he has made progress.
Let me ask you this. Let's just say this was a totally different property with the amount of stuff that's outdoors. Would a person be eligible for a citation the way it is today? Okay.
For sure. I mean, the TVs are out there, still some junk, still some rubbish. The buckets, they're actually considered construction material. So, yes.
I'm ready to make a motion. As much
see
as
this.
as much as I hate, the fines when we've had a little bit of progress along the way, at this point in time, the city has spent quite a bit of funds to address this property. With that being said, I'm gonna make a motion to uphold the citation and fine in the amount of $504.57.
Okay, Deere, LaPointe,
Holman,
yes?
Deere,
Yes.
LaPointe,
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, Mr. Jarvis, so the board has upheld the citation and the fine in the amount of $504.57.
Y'all don't need to see this.
No, sir.
So now I guess I'll just be dealing with you or what?
We were gonna, of course, watch for the permit to be obtained by Mr. Gary, and then we'll just watch make sure he gets that permit, and just kind of make sure, everything gets handled in a timely manner as far as the demolition once the permit is obtained. But yes, I will be working on you all to make sure, or working with you all to make sure that the demolition, building, and all of that is compliant with permits and such. But keep on working, Mr. Jarvis, on getting that. If you'll get those TVs and the buckets and the junk that's still out there cleaned up, we'd really appreciate that.
Mr. Jarvis. Mr. Jarvis. You can either mail your payment in or you can drop it off at my window if you'd like, okay? All right, thank you.
Case number 2 is case 2022-3608, 1501 US 31W bypass. The respondent we see is present. If we could swear them in. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Good evening. On this one, we have been in communication with the, Mr. Nally, the contractor. However, haven't seen any movement towards, it's still out of compliance reference to the outdoor storage. I've got a list of surveyors I was going to give Mr. Talley too. Apparently, for his permit, he'll need a plot plan and a survey to go along with it. But like I say, he's allowed 5% outdoor storage, and there's more than 5% out there. Not just in the front, but as these photos show, I updated the photos yesterday, as a matter of fact, but there's tires lined out outside the buildings that they just put up. So I know the issue is trying to get a building up, but the real issue is outdoor storage. If they can move those tires, of the two violations, one of them has been corrected. It was within 15 feet of the public right-of-way, but the tires are still the issue out there. Here's the list of current surveyors and whatnot that engineers that might be able to help them move toward getting that plot plan and the survey completed. It's got still the building material out there also, just sitting. So movement-wise, I know we've had 60 days and 30 days, and the last time we met in August, it was another 30 days. So, here we are. It's still the same issues out there.
Last time that we met, he didn't have any sort of building, did he?
Last time we met, the building materials were there. He still didn't have the building permit. Yeah, there's some of the old photos that the last time we met, and you can see there's additional tires on the back side of that.
But he had the
buildings.
workshop?
I'm sorry?
Did he have that whole, if you go back, that structure right there, did he have any of that?
Yeah, if there should be some photos of the back of it. Is it the back? There was additional buildings built on that backside, but with our, yeah, that's back in May. Can you go to the August part? On this section, there's the buildings, the additional buildings, but there's not as many tires on the back part in between that building and that alleyway back in the back. But Brad, can you go forward to the September? Okay, back up. There's additional tires that's been moved in the back there.
That building, not the shed, but to the right, that's new behind the tires, is that new?
In the last meeting that we were at, that's not new since the last meeting. That was
Okay.
there at the last, before the August 23rd meeting.
Got it.
What is in that building? Do you know?
I would assume tires, but I don't know.
So the violation is the tires now? Because it was much more, wasn't it?
There was two violations. It was outdoor storage of the tires, but also how close the tires were to the public right-of-way. And so he corrected that part, but it's still the violation of the outdoor storage with the tires. So one of the two have been corrected, but this one's still the major. I mean, it's the whole property pretty much.
Thank you. Did the respondent wish to address the board? Do you wish to address the board?
Problem we've having, the last time we were here, the very next day, I got a hold of a guy named Sam Reynolds. He's an engineer, but he's only qualified to do a 750 square foot building. I didn't know that. But in the meantime, he called Landmark to do, I didn't know we had to have a plot plan. They didn't tell me that, so we had to get a plot plan. He was 15 days out. We waited 2 weeks, and then I called him again. He was still 6 days out. So I talked to Valley. I said, Valley, we're running behind here. We're gonna do something. Well, we decided to get the metal carport sheds that you buy. I went downtown and asked them, could I get 2 of them put up there? And they said, yes. He said, as long as you keep it 20 foot from the other building, or put a firewall in there within, you know, if it's a little closer, and leave 2 walls off. I said, well, we can do that. I said, how big can I go with it? And I called planning and zoning. He said, go as big as you need, but then I called him back. He said, no, you still have to get the plot plan. I said, oh, okay. So I called back down there, and I talked to Donnie, and he told me what I had to do. And it was a misunderstanding. Matter of fact, we kind of got into it this morning on the phone, and he said, well, Jimmy, you still gonna have a plot plan? I said, Donnie, you didn't tell me that the other day. I wouldn't have never brought that drawing back up there. I ain't trying to slip nothing through here. I brought this drawing up here not knowing that. And I took one, they refused it, and I took another one, and I just heard back from him this morning. I was waiting to call, or, yeah, it was this morning. And then I said, well, heck, I said, I didn't know that. So that's where we're at. He said, now, and then he tells me, you have to hide the tires. I said, well, how am I gonna leave 2 walls off of it and hide the tires? And then he says, you can't enclose all 4 sides with blacktop under there. I said, well, that's a different story too. I didn't know all that with another building. But we can't, Landmark put us behind. He didn't put us behind. He was just a little bit, he was busy. And I did call him up there, and he couldn't get to us in time. So that's when we decided to change plans. Just go check those carports out and see what we can get done there. We was gonna put 2 24 by 30s out there, 2 of them, and that would pretty well took care of them. So.
You have a metal building unassembled laying on the lot, right?
Yeah, that building I took down behind Life Skills down there, it's Donnie said I could put it back up there because it qualified. And
And put it up on this property?
Yeah, it's a 40 by 60. And if the engineers would come on over there and the Landmark and survey that thing, we've got a guy out in Nashville who will come up and do the concrete for us. And, you know, that's where, you know, you can't get any, the guy took our plans, he come and got our stamped plans, took them to Nashville. He just called back yesterday. He's had our plans for 2 weeks. Don't know where he went or nothing, but we finally got a hold of him. It's one little thing after another, you know, just the way it goes. And I didn't know we was gonna have to hide the tires too. I just thought they had to be on the roof. That's the first time I heard anything about hiding the tires. So, I mean, it's no problem with that. We'd rather have walls around it anyway, but he just brought that up, you know, this morning.
Officer Hetty, I thought prior to this, they had a building ready to go and just couldn't find help to assemble it.
That was part of it too, yes.
But it sounds like now we've changed into a different direction with the plot plan and all that.
Yeah, that's changed too. But I didn't know all this was coming up until I went up there and applied for the permit. Then that's when I found out I had to do all this other stuff. I didn't know that at that time.
He needs a permit for the building to put it up, but,
When did he learn that?
I learned that about 3.5 weeks ago.
3.5 weeks ago?
I knew we had to have a permit for the building, but I didn't know we had to have there's another permit that's gotta be bought. Whoever digs the footer, I forgot the name of it, ITI, dirt removal, where you gotta have the runoff of the dirt, silt runoff, all, that's gotta be, you gotta be licensed to dig a foot or two. Special person. We found out some stuff I didn't know. You know, that stuff's changed a little bit since I've been into it every day. So, this could be strike 3 for me, I don't know, but.
Well, that's what we're trying to determine, but
Yeah.
new information is coming forward.
I mean, it's new to me too. I mean, I know when you build a building, and then we went to an idea of a pole barn. That's when I found out I couldn't get a permit for that. Donnie said, well, you gotta have a permit for that too. But I was sitting here wondering, why do I have to have a permit for a steel building, not a pole barn, still a building? But he finally told me I had to have a permit for that. I drew up a drawing on a pole barn, took up there, see?
As we talked before, the way I put it to you, I believe, is you got a permit for anything. It's best just to assume that.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing, inside, outside, upside down, you gotta have a permit. It's easy just to call the city and ask if you have to have a permit. So we noticed that. The first time you applied for a permit was January 25th. We looked it up before we come up here.
Permit for the remodeling?
For the remodel.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so that one's out there, so you knew you had to have a permit for that. If you would submit a proper permit, which you know you have to do, then we could all review it and tell you exactly what you need to do for what you wanna do, whether it be a pole barn, the steel building, or carports. So
Well,
once we have that picture and can understand it, we can help you out a little better. The whole point of all of this too is the compliance. There is another compliance option, and that's simply get rid of all the tires to get below 5% outdoor storage. That's always been an option since day one.
Yeah.
So I think part of our recommendation after hearing this option on this first case may be to waive half the fine if we can do that, since that's in compliance. We cannot, because part of it is a $200 for two $100 ones, and I'm looking at Brad here, making his brain hurt, but so the 100, part of it's in compliance, the rest is not. If we don't want to keep coming back here every 30 days, as we stated in the previous case, then my suggestion would be to uphold the citation and fine for the outdoor storage, but waive the fine for the $100 on the too close to the right of way. And then we can continue to work with them, and then we'll come back and have all the options on the table for a second fine if need to. But we've got to see some movement on this. We get complaints about this one all the time. It's obviously in a prominent location.
What are those tires used for? I mean, are they?
They're new tires. They're used tires. He gets them some from his connection there, and he gets them daily and sells them daily. Sometimes he'd get more than he sells, you know. They're good tires.
So they use these tires, he sells these tires to individuals that come through.
Yeah, they're not, there's no junk tires at all out there. He cuts them up, puts them in a dumpster every day. You have to cut the circle out of them before the dumpster take them, and I think they charge him $2 a piece or something to get rid of them.
Is there any more questions or discussion from the board?
Is that an option?
Mr. Broderick, I'm not sure if that is an acceptable motion or not, whether I know the board can double a fine, but are they able to have a fine? Okay.
So y'all telling me you want the tires hidden too? Is that what somebody's saying?
Hidden's an interesting term. They just got to be inside if you're going to have them. There can only be 5% of the total land area as outdoor storage.
What about just under roof?
No, they have to be concealed
Okay.
inside. If
Yeah.
that's the term we need to use, they need to be inside, completely covered, 4 walls of roof.
What was Donnie telling me, 2 walls?
I have no idea.
We had some information that came from Donnie by email into our division, and he did confirm that you had been up there a couple times trying to get a permit and working with him. at least twice in the last week, and then spoke with him on the phone. He said the latest plan that was discussed was the installation of 2 carports to store the tires, but they only plan to close 2 sides, meaning that it's not an enclosed building at that point. And his concern is that because they're on asphalt, that the wind would catch the carports and blow them away because they're not able to be properly anchored. So either it needs to be a structure that is built and properly anchored, like you say, into a footer, but you can't put that many sides on a carport and just anchor it into asphalt and have it up to code, because then there's a concern that it's not properly anchored. So it's kind of a...
Let me add this to it. I don't know if this makes any difference. He's got 2 permits where they issued him 2 permits to put those 2 buildings up before the storm. I seen them the other day.
I'm not sure that they are currently active. I can check.
No, they're not
while we're
active
here.
now.
Right,
He didn't ever put them up.
right.
But they wrote him 2 permits to put those metal buildings up a while back. And I wasn't involved in that. He just showed them to me.
Sure.
And I wonder why you can do it then, you can't do it now. Is the codes changed?
Could have been a different location too, I mean.
No, it's same location.
Were there footers involved in
No.
installing those buildings?
But he was gonna put them on blacktop.
I mean, that's not, without seeing those permits, that's, I mean, I can try to look them up in the
Carport
system,
style
but-
buildings?
Yes. Yeah, I seen the 2 permits where they issued him 2 carports to put them up on blacktop.
Can we go through these photos here?
Again, putting up carports, there's nothing wrong
Right
with
there.
that. You can get a permit for that and put those up. It just won't conceal the tires and won't count towards removal of.
What is that building behind the main building? Is that not exactly what we're talking about as a
No,
carport?
this is over to the side where a carport got blown away by the storm.
I understand. I'm
Okay.
saying that building behind the big building here,
There was a building there, that's tire storage.
carport.
No, it's just it's a remodel. It's not a carport, structure, no.
At the building right there you're speaking?
Oh, yeah, that one right there is, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, so how is that allowed, but he can't add more, I guess? Is that in compliance?
That was there before too. That's one that didn't get blown away.
That would be, is it in compliance of zoning ordinance? I'm not sure, because it's just under roof and it's not an enclosed structure. Is it in compliance of building code? That would be a question for the building inspector. I can't answer that question.
Is what it appears to be is exactly what they're trying to do in the first place. And they already have one, so I'm wondering why that one's not in compliance, or that one is
That one
in
would
compliance.
count towards the 5% outdoor
Okay.
storage since it's not concealed.
Gotcha.
Plus, that structure, if I'm remembering correctly, that's one that was already existing
Yeah.
prior to the tornado, so it's grandfathered in as well. Non-conforming.
So these things changed after the tornado, is what you're saying?
It had been there in continuous existence for at least 10 years or longer. It is, and I don't, we'd have to go back through to see if that actually meets that
It's
test
been
or
there
not.
12 years.
Yeah, so that one would be okay. Anything new would have to be completely enclosed.
All that's fine with me. I didn't know it. I mean, until we started filling out these permits, and then they'd say a pole barn, I said, well, okay. And then that don't work. I said, well, the only other option we got, Valley, is put them 2 little carports up.
Could he enclose that building then, since it's, and then he'd get his 5% back?
As far as zoning and use of the land, it goes, yes, but building code, I can't answer that question. That would be for the building code folks.
But the fact remains, with the tires on the property, he's clearly in compliance and has been for 244 days, is that right?
Right, and in some ways, it's worse. When he takes a delivery, that tire problem grows, so it's used even more of the land. And then now we've also got another building laying out there that's unassembled, that's been sitting there a while as well.
Any more discussion, questions? Can we have a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion that we uphold the citation, but waive the fine at this date, and bring closure to this part of this issue. And then the code comes back, we start over again, and start addressing this to give them time to get this built. I mean, I think that's very fair. So that's my motion.
Are we allowed to put, those, tractor trailer trucks in there and use them for storage? No. Not allowed to do that?
Trying to make the property look better in general.
I mean, I'm just talking about temporary, just get the tires out.
So a motion's been made to uphold the citation but waive the fine in the amount of $200. I'll second that. Deere, Holman?
Holman,
Yes?
Deere,
Yes.
LaPointe,
No.
Harmon.
As far as since the motion didn't carry, the prior permit, to try to clarify this, and I'm just looking at this kind of on the tablet here while we're going through things, but it appears that that building and the plans that were submitted, and this was in February of 2018, the building itself sits on 4x6 ground skids, and they run the entire length of the building. However, the building was to be used as an office building. It was not submitted to be used as a storage shed, and so it was denied because a storage shed cannot be used as an office building.
Ones I was talking about a while ago was denied?
Yeah,
Oh.
well, but that's because it was to be intended to be wired and plumbed and used as an office
Oh, I didn't
building,
know that.
not
I
as a
just found
storage
that out.
building. And, well, and again, that's
I
just
don't
what I'm reading
understand
here.
sometimes.
So it's not that the building itself, they submitted all the plans, and the building itself at the time was okay if it was to be used as storage. So now that things have changed 4 years later, I mean, that's still a possibility. If he wanted to resubmit those plans to rebuild that structure, it's entirely possible that the material that's laying there that we can see in these pictures right there would be usable as a storage building as long as it's enclosed and it sits on those
Yeah,
skids.
no, yeah, we went, you're talking about the steel building.
Yes.
No, we wasn't gonna put no, insulation or nothing in it, just storage, that's all it's gonna be.
Well, in 2018, that's why they denied it, because somebody did want to enclose it and put in electricity and insulation
Oh,
and use it
yeah,
as an
that
office
wasn't me. I
building,
don't know
so.
what that's about. I just seen the permits and he thought they was approved or something. I didn't check into it, I just told him to put them back in his drawer. Cause I didn't know, I was on another page at that time. Well, whatever, you know, we'll do whatever y'all want us to do. I mean, we're trying, but I understand, you know.
Didn't get a fine, so, you know, let's go ahead and continue on with this. But
I
the
believe that there were
citation stands, which means that
No,
at
there were,
least-
there were 2 yeses and 2 nos, so the motion
Noes.
did not
Oh,
carry.
I didn't hear. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to uphold the citation and fine in the amount of $100, if we can do that.
LaPointe, Harmon?
Holman,
Yes?
Deere,
Yes.
LaPointe,
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Fair enough. I appreciate
Time
it.
was cut in half. The citation was upheld.
Tires out of sight on your place, yeah. Somewhere, we gotta do something with them.
After finish it fast, I put everything.
Yeah, but
with it.
we hadn't finished it fast though, we've been here twice.
3 times now.
No
Three
problem.
3 times now.
I know, I said 3
I
strikes.
told him if I do it, he never helped him, stay, never find somebody.
But, I mean, they understand all that, but they just.
I'm not understand the good English. Okay, what can I do right now? Go.
They want you to pay $100 fine,
That's it?
yeah, but, and then they want you to get them tires out of sight.
Reno pay it?
Well, I don't know.
You want to pay Reno?
No, here.
You gotta take that.
Thank you, everybody.
You got off lucky.
Hey, buddy, I lost a couple thousand, 100,000 down is not right. Anyway, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Took a lot of money for me. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
I know y'all
Thank
done us a
you.
favor, so I
thank you. Okay, Brad, we don't have any, we don't have any more respondents.
Because these are actions that we are bringing to the
Okay.
board, and
Okay.
so it's different than a per-day fine. A per-day fine, we don't even notify the other parties. It's just completely an action that we bring to you like any other citation. Repeat offender, we still send notice by certified mail, we still send it by regular mail, we attempt to notify them, to allow them to come and not be designated as a repeat offender, but if they do not show up, then it can still be heard by the board.
Okay.
It's confusing, so.
Okay, case number 3, repeat offender designation, Aislinn Holdings LLC. Officer Brad.
So, real quick, since the next, I guess 3 or 4 cases are for repeat offender designation, and we have not brought that in front of the board for quite some time, I'm going to go back over just the quick simplified PowerPoint, the 3 slides that we had gone over, I believe, last September as well, just as a quick crash course to remind everybody what repeat offender is and how this works. So we bring the property owner, whether it's an LLC or a person. So we're talking about the owner, not an individual property. This is designated as either that LLC for everything they own or that property owner for everything they own. We bring that in front of the board. The board determines if that person or that owner should be a repeat offender. If designated as a repeat offender, the board must set a time period that that designation is good for, between 12 and 24 months. There is no appeal for that designation. Once you designate someone or don't designate them tonight, they cannot appeal that to court or to the board or anything. They are a repeat offender. Now, each individual citation that they are issued for the next 12 to 24 months can still be appealed and go to district court and everything else like usual, but the designation itself, once it's set in stone, that's their designation for that time period as the board designates. And the same with the fine. So you can anywhere between $1,200 and $2,400, anywhere between 12 months and 24 months. If they continue to recidivate, then we can bring them back in front of you after that time period expires and request that they be a repeat offender again.
What about the unpaid fines to this point of that $9,222?
Yeah, so each individual, and so looking at the different categories, they can be designated as a repeat offender for one of 3 things. What you're referencing is category C, meaning that they've had at least a second citation within the last 2 years and either work order fees, citation fees, or a combination of the 2 remain unpaid. What the repeat offender designation does is accelerates then, because now the penalties are enhanced for that property owner to either speed foreclosure process through the city attorney's office, to try to escalate the collection of the fees and fines and city taxes that they may owe. And it kind of shifts the scales much as a per-day fine citation does, to either get the attention of the property owner or to weigh the scales in our favor and where we can then try to foreclose through the city attorney's office.
Do you know if liens have been filed on all these tonight?
I don't have the information on all of them. I know that all of them prior to at least 2022 have been, but they're all final orders. So if they have actually been filed, I can find out through Tammy. But just to give you, again, a quick crash course here on the different categories, there are 3 ways that someone can be designated as the repeat offender. Category A means that there have been 4 citations on a property that this person owns within a 2-year period, okay? There are a lot of properties, unfortunately, that might qualify for that in the city. However, we will not generally bring it in front of you unless they also qualify for something else. So in this case, category B is a 3rd citation at the same property within a 12-month period. And or, as we just said, they haven't paid any of their fees for the last 2 years and they have at least 2 citations. So all of the ones that will be coming in front of you tonight meet at least 2 of these categories, if not 3. We're not just bringing to you folks that have had a couple citations for grass in the last couple years. What the enhanced penalties, in addition to the monetary component of it, right? So that instead of us writing a grass citation for $400, which is the max that we could do through our ordinance, is if you set that at $1,200 or $2,400, now every citation, whether it's grass or anything else, is $2,400 right off the bat. But in addition to that, we do not have to give prior notice to the property owner that we are issuing a citation. We can issue a citation as soon as we see something. We can also institute a program of regular inspections of properties owned by that property owner, and we can inspect properties without first receiving a complaint. Now, all of those are written into the ordinance. However, our goal remains compliance. So we still aren't just going to go out and write a $2,400 citation for grass for these folks if we can get them to mow it themselves. We're not going to write a $2,400 citation for cars or windows. We still want compliance, but it enhances the penalties once they are not voluntarily complying. So that's the quick crash course on that. Any questions as far as that goes? So the first case is Aceland Holdings. Aceland Holdings, the property owner, the LLC owner is a Russell Hankins. Mr. Hankins qualifies under Aceland Holdings LLC for all three categories, A, B, and C. Under categories A and B, he qualifies with 3 properties. Those properties are 1125 Wilson Street. He has had 4 citations in the last 2 years, and all 4 of those are within the last year as well, within the last 12 months. So it qualifies for him under A and B. That was May, July, August, and August of this year. 1207 Fair Street, he has had 7 citations. All of those, again, qualify both under A and B. They have been within the last year and the last 2 years. And 1504 North Sunrise Drive. 4 of those qualify for Category B, that they have been in the last 12 months, and 5 of them are within the last 2 years. So he qualifies under A and B for both of those. These don't count towards his repeat offender, but these are also properties that are owned by Aceland Holdings that we are having continuing problems with. 122 West 13th Avenue has had a citation. 1235 Nutwood Street has had 2. 1500 North Sunrise has had 2. 1508 North Sunrise has had 1, and 1515 Neal Street has had 1. So it's just kind of showing the totality of his non-compliance across all of his properties, but these would not actually weigh against him for the repeat offender. And then Category C, in your packet, it says $9,000. That actually has changed. The correct fee is $16,090.67. The reason being is that the board several months ago approved a per day fine on 2 of this property owner's properties, and those since you received the packet and we ran that report have now been applied because the full 60 days has run and he hasn't done anything. So that money is now added into his outstanding fees and fines, which brings the total in fees and fines to over $16,000. So he qualifies for all 3 categories, A, B, and C. Our request is the maximum $2,400 for a period of 24 months.
But I'm gonna have more of education for me than anything else, or at least updated, I guess. Probably the same 2 or 3 questions on all of these. First one is, what's the use of these properties? I assume these are rental properties. He's got this many.
So it's a bit of an unusual situation because normally a lot of the landlords that are brought before you and that we encounter with do have tenants living in them. This property owner, for some reason, seems to buy properties that are already vacant, I assume, with the intention of fixing them up, and then they just sit there. The 3 properties that qualify for A and B, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they have had, or maybe not Sunrise, they have had fires. There have been squatters or vagrants or homeless individuals that have set fires at these properties. And in fact, 1207 Fair Street, when we brought it to the board a few months ago for the per day fine, which was approved, we also had requested demolition of the shed, if you recall, that was at the rear of the property, because that had been set fire too. So there's actually 2 fires at this property, and the property owner just, not only doesn't mow the lawn, but it's just sitting there vacant, catching on fire over and over again, and he has nothing to do with the property. He just won't do anything. So we have had to step in and take all of the actions to clean the property, board the property, mow the lawn every couple of weeks on the majority of these. And so I'm not really sure what his intentions are, but to my knowledge, he's continuing to buy vacant properties, and then they're just sitting there in the same condition.
I think you answered my next two questions too. I was going to ask about the types of citations, and these sound like they're multiple: fires and grass and pretty much everything. And then the last one, the status. I assume, listening to you too, these are still not in compliance.
No,
Not a single one.
not a single one. No, if you see on the dates here, even 1504 North Sunrise, September 6th, we issued a citation there. Heather, I don't know if you have additional information, but some of these will have to mow again, issue a citation and mow again this year. And there's one that I believe is coming before the board for a per day fine next month.
So 1207 Fair Street, I sent out a notice of violation today. That's our process. We do a courtesy letter, then we do the notice of violation, and if it's not done, then we end up citing it. And I've, a ton of citations already for 1207 Fair, and I'm probably looking at another one in about a week.
Any acknowledgement whatsoever from any of them?
No.
Nothing?
No. And like Brad said, I'm going to be issuing a citation at one of his other properties. It'll be the third one at 1500 North Sunrise tomorrow. So it's never ending. It's either structural stuff with him. We mow all of his properties pretty much because he doesn't mow.
City mows them.
Yeah.
Is he aware of the $16,090 as of today, and it's going to be, $17,590 tomorrow?
He gets letters. He got a letter about the per day fines. Anytime that we cite him, any of his properties, we of course post a citation on the property. Then we mail a copy, certified mail and regular mail. So he's very aware.
And understand too, Heather texts and calls. We leave voicemails. I've texted and called. I've written a couple of these citations over the years myself, and have bent over backwards to try to explain the process and get compliance. Mo is not here tonight, but Mo has, on his other LLC, the next case you have in front of you is Corvette View Properties, also owned by the same individual. And she, almost to the point of begging of just do something, because it was a sanitation issue. There was food and there was a refrigerator, and all the neighbors are complaining. The police department is complaining that there's just food and sanitation and rats and bugs, and there was just no effort towards compliance at all. Everything it has to be done by us.
Based upon the fact that this property owner has not responded in any way whatsoever, based upon the history of the decisions since I've been on this board, the repeat offender status gets their attention. So therefore, I'm going to make a motion that we designate this property owner as a repeat offender and set the future citation fine amount at $1,200 for a period of 12 months.
I second that motion. Deere, Holman?
Holman,
Yes.
Deere,
Yes.
LaPointe,
No.
Harmon.
Yes.
Okay, case number 4, repeat offender designation, Corvette View Properties LLC. Officer Brad.
So again, this is the same property owner, Russell Hankins. It's a different LLC, again with repeat offender. It follows around the name of the owner of the properties. So any properties that are acquired henceforth by Aislinn Properties, as you just made the motion, will be under that designation. Because Mr. Hankins also has this LLC, we have to also bring this one before you. This one, of course, also applies to A, B, and C categories. So categories A and B, and this is only on one property. This, again, is a property that had a fire. This property was occupied by several tenants. The tenants were all displaced and basically had to kind of do their own thing once there was the fire. 7 citations have been issued at this property since February of this year all the way through August of this year, so it qualifies under categories A and B. Category C, this is an interesting case. It only has $1,704.57 on the outstanding fees and fines, so it still qualifies because it's had at least 2 citations that have those outstanding fees and fines. However, all of the fees and fines were outstanding about a month ago, and the majority of them were paid off when the property owner got a second mortgage and refinanced this property under this LLC. So all of the other citations were paid off, but 2 of them that were issued after that refinance have still not been paid off, and those were within the last 30 days. So it's still under the same LLC. It's still in a condition that is not tenable and still in violation. There is a building permit at the 110 Corvette View property. We had to issue a stop work order because there was work going on without permits. After we did that and had to issue a citation for that, he did get a permit. There are dumpsters out front, and there is some work taking place to bring that property into compliance. However, because he qualifies with this LLC under A, B, and C, we're still requesting his repeat offender designation because several other buildings in that area are owned by that same LLC.
So some of these citations, some have been paid then?
5 of the 7 have, yes.
5 of the 7.
And again, I believe it was by the bank or the mortgage company is
Only
not.
because he was
Right,
refinancing.
because he was refinancing.
Make a motion to designate this property owner as a repeat offender and set future citation amount of $1,200 for a period of 24 months.
Second.
LaPointe, Deere,
Holman,
yes?
Deere,
Yes.
LaPointe,
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Case number 5, repeat offender designation, Shannon Smith, Officer Brad.
So the next 2 are slightly different than the last 2, as these are private property owners, not an LLC. So these are actually for the only property owned by this person, which is their primary residence in at least this case of 1164 Crudson Drive. So Shannon Smith is the property owner of this property that you see pictured there. She qualifies under categories A, B, and C. Ms. Smith has had 7 citations that qualify for category A, which stretches back to May of last year, and then the 4 that are bolded there from October 27th to current also qualify her under category B. Category C, she owes over $4,500 in work order fees and citation fines. Additional information is that we have had 34 code compliance cases at this location in the last 5 years, and 25 citations and or work orders have been issued in the last 5 years. The vast majority, if not 100% of those, are for grass. It is a constant ongoing jungle battle that we receive complaints weekly all summer long for her property, and she just does nothing to mow the property. She does nothing to maintain the exterior of the property, and so all of the exterior maintenance is completed by the city through the citation process.
Brad, I missed what you said a few minutes ago. Does she reside in this property? Or is it
Yes, yes.
She resides in it?
We can't ever get contact, but to our knowledge, there are cars that come and go. The citation gets taken off the door. There have been times where we have seen someone there, but she'll never come to the door to talk to us. We never actually have interaction with anyone, but to our knowledge, she does reside there, yes.
Any other questions from the board? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to designate this property owner as a repeat offender and set the future citation amount of $1,200 for a period of 24 months.
Second. LaPointe, Holman,
Holman,
yes?
Deere,
Yes.
LaPointe,
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Case number 6, repeat offender designation, Joanne Ramsey, Officer Brad.
So this is a private property owner at 1208 Beauty Avenue, the only property that they own. There is also a family member. The property owner, there's an et al. On the property, so that there are some other family members involved. One of them is in Louisville. The property is not currently occupied. It is vacant. We have had to secure it several times. However, The people that continue to break into the property are either property owners or related to the property owners. They break in to strip wire, they break in to do damage on the inside of the house, and then they leave it unsecured, and then homeless and vagrants come in, and we end up having to board it back up. So they basically leave their own vacant property unsecured, and then when it becomes, which of course is a code violation, and then we have to re-secure it for them. So kind of a strange situation. They do not qualify under Category B, only Category A. They've had 7 citations in the last 2 years. However, only 2 of those have been in the last 12 months, so they don't qualify under Category B. However, they do qualify under Category C at $2,579.08 of outstanding fees and fines. And there have been 23 code compliance cases at this location in the last 5 years. We've also issued 9 citations or work orders in the last 5 years. On paper, it might not be as quote-unquote impressive as the rest of them. Still, obviously, is a burden on staff and on the city taxpayers for, maintaining these properties, basically. It should also be noted that in 2018, there were individuals living in this property for 6 months without any utilities, and we condemned the property once that was brought to our attention. After the city condemned the property, we worked with the property owner to get it back into livable condition, which they had done by September of that year. We lifted the condemnation. They moved back into the house, and that was due to a fire originally. So they had a fire in November, December, the year prior in 2017, but they were living there with no utilities, using buckets for unsanitary reasons, no utilities, so on and so forth. Once we condemned it, we brought it up to code, lifted the condemnation. They moved back in September of 2018. There was then another fire at the residence, at which point the utilities were pulled, and that's what caused the current vacancy, where they've just kind of abandoned the property. They kind of come and go, strip things on the inside, cause a nuisance on the exterior of the property, burn trash, and then disappear, and we kind of have to follow behind them and clean it up. So we have not really had any since September of 2018, or since that time period, not a whole lot of compliance or voluntary compliance in keeping the property maintained.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to designate this property owner as a repeat offender and set the future citation amount of $1,200 for a period of 24 months.
Second. LaPointe, Holman?
Holman,
Yes?
Deere,
Yes.
LaPointe,
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
The next hearing date is October 25th. The board members are requested to arrive 15 minutes early for a photo shoot on the front steps of the City Hall. Let's see, adjournment, call for a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Deere, LaPointe?
Holman,
Yes?
Deere,
Yes.
LaPointe,
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.